Welcome back to The Heat. We're discussing Chinese President Xi Jinping's three-nation tour in the Middle East and China's vision for peace and security through development. Joining our panel from Riyadh is Jamal Khashoggi. He's a Saudi journalist and the general manager of Al Arab News Channel. Thanks for joining us. Jamal, let me start with you this time around. Let's look at some of the details of President Xi Jinping's visit. China pledged $15 million in special loans to boost industrial production, $10 billion in trade credit for joint energy projects, and $10 billion in soft loans. When you look at this, how important is this kind of investment for the region?
No, it is good, it's excellent, it is very important, but it's also sum up the China's foreign policy. When President Xi made that tour of three nations, that each one has a very much different view about the future of the Middle East. Some of them are even in confrontation with each other, but he left the three capitals all happy. China wants the good of the Middle East, oil and trade, and wants to leave the bad and the ugly, which is the wars, the politics, the confrontation. But I don't think they should take that for granted. I think the Chinese should get involved because it is world peace at risk right now, which is related to China. It will have an impact in China. China depends on the oil of the Middle East, whether Saudi oil or Iranian oil, and they must play a role there, and a positive role. What is the problem of the Middle East for all of us and for China? It is the falling states of Syria, Yemen, and others. We need to build those states. Expansionism of Iran is affecting the balance of power in the Middle East and affecting those civil wars and fueling those civil wars. We need to work together to stop such policies of expansionism and sectarianism and revert to good practices, neighborly practices that will lead to those beautiful dreams of cooperation and Silk Roads, etc.
Right, but the other important thing for China about this visit, we do know that China is a growing economy. Its growth is not as high as it used to be, but it's still growing. It has huge energy requirements annually. It imports 60% of its oil. So to what extent was this visit about securing those oil supplies for China?
Oh, for sure, they're going to get that, as long as those confrontations we have on the Middle East are limited to Syria and Yemen, and it doesn't go beyond that. But there is a risk that the confrontation between Saudi Arabia and Iran can go beyond. Of course, both countries do not want such a confrontation, but to let this Iranians meddling in the Middle East and Saudi Arabian necessary response to keep the Iranians off pay, and that will lead to a confrontation. So I would like to see more of Chinese effort to bring peace, reconciliation between various countries in the Middle East and bring peace and order to the Middle East. Peace and order will not be guaranteed by securing the victory of a dictatorship, but by prevailing democracy in Yemen, in Syria. That's what the people are asking for. That is the essence of the Arab Spring, which is a very true phenomena that has come to the Middle East, and it will not go away till it achieves its goals.
Okay, let me go to Dr. Marandi in Tehran. Dr. Marandi, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, praised China for its support during the years of isolation and sanctions that Iran faced. How important is that diplomatic support for Iran?
Well, it is important, and Iran is a country that remembers those countries and friends that stuck with it during difficult times. And Iran will also not forget the actions of those countries that tried to hurt it and tried to hurt the region. Linked to what Jamal was saying, China, because it doesn't have ambitions in this region, and it does not have a history like the United States and Europe of colonialism, it has a good opportunity to expand trade. And in the case of Iran, it's especially so because it can do this through Central Asia as well as the sea. But with regards to security, Iran and China have much more, I think, to offer to each other than anyone else. because when one looks at the region, one does see, contrary to what Jamal says, I believe that it's quite clear that the United States and the Saudis have played a very negative role in exporting or allowing Wahhabism to be exported across the region. About a month ago, when Zahran Aloush, the head of the terrorist organization Jaish al-Fath, was killed, both the Americans and the Saudis, and sort of disturbingly, Human Rights Watch, the head of Human Rights Watch, they expressed regret. But this is a person who explicitly online has supported Osama bin Laden. He's justified his alliance with al-Qaeda, and he spoke about crushing the heads of minorities. So this is the reality of the situation that we're looking at in the region.
Okay, Wenping, let's talk about China's role in the region as far as being an honest broker, being neutral in the various disputes that are taking place. During his speech to the Arab League, President Xi Jinping said, quote, "The key to overcoming difficulties is to accelerate development." And the Chinese leader stressed that turmoil stems from lack of development. So what does China bring to the table on the one hand, investing in the region, on the other, trying to act as that honest broker and bringing peace to the region as well?
Yes, the China's concept of security is thinking the development, only the development is the fundamental factor to maintain peace and security. Yeah, that's our understanding about security. But at the meantime, as we just heard our two colleagues from Iran and from Saudi, so it's not easy to bring a full understanding between those two countries, and also bring peace to hold the region, because the Syria war is there, Yemen war is there. It's not easy. So I don't think China, with this good intention, with this three nodes policy, and then we can bring a magic thing happening in the Middle East, and also seize all those conflicts immediately. So we don't have that magic power, but we want to call upon a kind of idea and understanding. That is, only the development, only the dialogue and the political settlement can be the way out. Because through many years war there, people in the Middle East cannot see hope. And those war in Iraq, those war in Afghanistan has been proved again and again. That is only through the force or the fighting. And then you cannot find peace. You cannot find the solution. Only the people suffered. So that's the message we want to bring to the region. So even though this time around Chinese President Xi Jinping visited like Iran and Saudi, even though we know they are in the dispute right now, they're cutting ties with each other. So I think President Xi continued to make his trip. He didn't make change of his schedule. So that is, he wants to bring this peaceful message and call them to calm down and to to ease the tension rather than to build down tension. Of course, we are not saying we are side with who and who. So I think it's up to them to resolve their problem.
Jamal, one of the challenges that Saudi Arabia faces right now, of course, is the falling oil price. If we look at the trade numbers between China and Saudi Arabia, that trade is worth something like $69 billion. That was in 2014. Now we look at the falling oil price. So how will China's investments in Saudi Arabia make a difference?
I think Saudi Arabia has enough reserve and enough economic power to continue with its trade relation with China, and to continue in building various projects that the Chinese are involved in, including introducing nuclear energy into Saudi Arabia. So this is going ahead with no effect with the oil prices. But what could hinder such activities is the peace and security in the region, and that's where I think the Chinese are not putting big weight there. They're expressing good hopes on sending good advices, but that is not enough. We should apply measure of international laws see who is sending militias, who is fighting the people of Syria and Yemen, who is not helping in the negotiations that is coming in Geneva. And let's work together to bring peace. It is and stop confrontation. My friend Marandi spoke about the risk of extremism. Yes, extremism is a problem to us, but it is a result of the falling Middle East. It's a result of the dictatorship and the war that waged by Bashar al-Assad on his own people that led to the rise of extremism. So we need to address those true problems. We must accept the essence of Arab Spring and help those countries reach safety, which will benefit all of us, including China.
Right. Dr. Galal, the Lebanese economics minister, Alan Hakim, is quoted in The Economist news magazine as saying that China should play a leading political role in the region. And we had another official from the Gulf Cooperation Council says that the Gulf is looking to diversify our political relations and China is foremost among the targets. So what are the nations in the Gulf looking for from China as far as political cooperation is concerned?
The GCC countries, they have keen interest that China should advise all the parties in the region, especially in the Gulf area, that they should not intervene in the internal affairs, or as Khashoggi mentioned, that not to sending militia, or any sleeping cells to other countries and so on. The most important that everybody in the Middle East, and particularly in the countries in the region, not to seek any hegemony, regional hegemony, by spreading their type of religion or their type of sect or things like this. And China, from this point of view, could be a model that it doesn't interfere into the internal affairs of any other country. It doesn't want to change countries to their own type of political system or its economic system and so on. But one most important element is that China is one of the 5 members or permanent members of the Security Council. And here China can play a role when they set the record straight, when they find any intervention by any other country to call the spade a spade. That is very important, and they are in good relationship with all the countries in the Middle East because of their policy of some sort of neutrality.